Not a ton of offense for the Cardinals on Friday night, but they ran the bases aggressively, got strong starting pitching, enough out of the bullpen, and an unbelievable play defensively by Nolan Arenado. That's all coming up on B-Schaeff Daily. What's going on, everyone, and welcome into this edition of B-Schaeff Daily. Brenden Schaeffer with you. It is now the early morning hours of Saturday, April 26th, 2025. The Cardinals got a 3-2 win at Busch Stadium on Friday after the rough road trip. They welcomed the Brewers into town for a 3-game series, and they started off on the right foot. Cardinals got really just enough of what they needed from every facet of the team to get this win tonight. Matthew Liberatore was great once again. We'll talk about his start and how it has just been a trend for him to begin the season, rolling along in the rotation spot that he always knew he had the confidence he could be in this role at some point, and it was maybe a winding road to get there, but has Matthew Liberatore arrived? Like, it feels like he has to me. We'll talk about what he's done so far this year and what he did tonight to help the Cardinals get off to a solid start in this series. The bullpen was good tonight for the Cardinals. It was a little more adventurous than you'd want it to be, but it did its job and ultimately had the help of one incredible play from Nolan Arenado. This might be the best play defensively that I've ever seen. I know that might sound like I'm laying it on a little thick. I don't think people completely understand how difficult the play that he made in the 8th inning really is. And it was timely. Like, if he doesn't make the play, Cardinals probably don't win this game, right? Was trying to make a 3-2 game stay as a 3-2 game and goes home with a ball that I just don't know how he did it. He did it because this is what he does. He is the best defensive third baseman I've ever seen. Scott Rowland was really, really good. But Nolan Arenado is consistently, and he's back, by the way, in terms of his defense. I don't know what the StatCast will tell you. I don't know what the metrics would say. I've seen a Gold Glove defender this year from Nolan Arenado. Like, I think he should be vaulted back into that conversation after a couple of years where he has sort of faded out of it. You know, he'd be a finalist, but he wouldn't win. He would not be a finalist. Nolan Arenado for me, and I know I'm not seeing all the 14 other starting third basemen every day like I see him, but he has consistently been really, really good on that side of the ball this year, which should not come as a surprise, but I'm saying it because he hasn't won the award the last couple of years. Arguably, I know it's a month into the season, but he's on a path to be back in that conversation, in my opinion. Now, that being said, we'll have to talk about the fact that he did make a whoopsie tonight. There was an error. He did get charged with an E5 in this game, and it ultimately came around to score and made life a little bit more difficult on Kyle EveryDeahy. That's right. Check your watch. Was it a day that ended in Y? Okay, then Kyle Lehey pitched. You know what? He didn't pitch yesterday, though. He didn't pitch Thursday. And the only reason that happened, or didn't happen, is because the Cardinals didn't play Thursday. But Kyle EveryDeahy, when the game is on the line and hanging in the balance, he's going to be in that game. It's been unbelievable what he's done. So we'll talk a little bit about Kyle Lehey tonight, who, yes, did pitch. Hashtag Kyle EveryDeahy. And pitched well, needed a little bit of his own magic to get out of the jam. It wasn't entirely his fault, though. He comes into a spot where there's a runner on second base. And that was, I say the error from Arenado put him there. It didn't. It just extended the at-bat because Arenado in the 7th inning, Matthew Liberatore had been great. It was a matchup situation where they wanted to get him through one more batter, Sal Frelick, and he's a lefty to start off that inning, so Libby's going to face him, and then he's going to be done regardless of the outcome with that batter. Was up 85-plus pitches. I don't know exactly where he landed. I can find it, though. And so it was a foul pop down the third base line in foul ground, and Arenado just muffed it, just didn't catch it. And so that's an error, but then base hit to left field. Lars Dupar makes a sprawling effort at it, gets under his glove, so Sal Frelick makes second. Don't know for sure if they credit him with double on that, but probably so. Yeah, there's no error on the play. So it just was the situation that it was where, Arenado makes an error, and then Leahy comes in. He's the first guy out of the bullpen, gets one day off because it's a team day off. So he's pitched in 4 consecutive games for the team. First kind of thought up in the press box that might be a rarity. Apparently, Andrew Kittredge did it last year. Jeff Jones asked Cardinals PR if they could do some digging on that, and that's what they came up with. So maybe not quite the rarity that we thought it might have been, but 4 team games in a row for Kyle Leahy, and ultimately he throws up a 0, although a run did cross when he was out there. Gave up a base hit and then walked a guy, so the bases were loaded. Got a ground ball out, soft grounder, take the out at first, second and third, and then was able to wiggle out of the jam. Another ground out, infield in. We always talk about when the infield's playing in. That can be a little bit risky. That was the case in the 7th inning. Cardinals still had a 3-2 lead at this point. Scored their runs in the 4th and 5th. We'll talk about that. It wasn't super interesting how the offense performed tonight. They got 9 hits, but just not a ton of runs, and honestly kind of did it on the base paths. But Leahy had a ground ball with the infield in for out number 2 and a fly ball to center field, get out of the jam of his own making, but also kind of not really. Matthew Liberatore was charged with the unearned run on the guy that came around to score when Leahy was out there because of the Arenado error. It was not an earned run, but he goes 6+ innings, 5 hits allowed, 1 run, 1 earned run, 2 runs total, no walks, and 4 strikeouts. So not a ton of Ks for Libby, but he's got a 3.19 ERA on the season, and he's walked 2 guys all year in 5 starts. 28 strikeouts, I believe. Yeah, his strikeout to walk ratio is 28-2. So do the math on that. 14 Ks for every walk. I mean, he's been in the zone. He's been filling up the zone. He's been, pitching to contact that's not particularly dangerous. 31 innings, 28 Ks, so that doesn't blow you away. But he's not, at the big league level, ever been a huge strikeout guy, and has the possibility to get to that threshold of 1K per inning. He could do that. Through 86 innings last year, I'm going to continue to say we'll be interested to see how many innings they let him throw this year. Now that he looks like somebody who could be a fixture in the rotation at long last, who gets the last laugh in the Randy Arozarena trade now, huh? Yeah. Matthew Liberatore and the St. Louis Cardinals maybe do. John Mozeliak just putting that tally on the board. I'm telling you, Libby has been really, really good. And it's one of those deals where at first you're going, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, look at Libby go. And now you're kind of like, that's old hat. That's what he does. That's what he's always said he would do, right? He's always had that mentality, that confidence that, like, I'm going to be a starter. I'm going to be a guy that can contribute in a rotation. That's what I asked him tonight, is just like, you've always had this confidence that you could do this. And I hate to look at it as like, hey, look, you've arrived, you've done it, because you never want, the player is never going to bite on that assertion, right? They're going to say, no, there's work to be done, which he did say it's still early. Let's see if I can find the audio of that. I will. He's just been so good. And, it's been a rotation for the Cardinals that it's not just him doing it. It's been really 1 through 5. I'll even say 1 through 6. Steven Matz technically has a start under his belt. We'll see when he gets another one. Miles Michaelis has been solid enough. He had 1 miserable start, and the other 4 have been fine or above. So it's been a Cardinal rotation that you feel pretty good about if they can just get the bullpen going. And after the game, it was referenced by Ollie Marmol, basically offense is work in progress, but we're going to get it there. Bullpen's going to be better than it's been. He feels tonight after a win like that, which was kind of riding the rail. It was a tightrope win in a lot of ways, especially with how the 7th and 8th innings went. Ollie Marmol had, the confidence, kind of that confidence tonight of, the areas that we didn't do as well tonight, they're going to get there. And the areas where it did go well, that's what we expect. And I would say those areas are Liberatore's starting pitching and Arenado's defense and some aggression on the base paths. I was looking for the dang Liberatore comment, doing this all on the fly. It's like 1 a.m. I know I complain about that a lot. Not really to complain, but to just let people know that, like, why is he talking in circles like he's some lunatic? That's why, because I was at Enterprise Center till 1:15 on, what day is it? On Thursday night, and now Friday night, I'm here at 1 a.m. still doing this. But that's the way baseball be. Go to sportshubstl.com and make sure to read my game story, so that way I feel like it wasn't a waste of time to write before I podcast. All right, here we go. My question to Matthew Liberatore and his answer, and then a second follow-up just about the rotation in general. Give you a little sound from the Cardinals clubhouse this evening.
Libby, you've always had the confidence that you're this guy that will go out and post every fifth day in a rotation. How meaningful is it, though, right now to be seeing that through and getting the results that you're getting so far, that proof of concept?
Yeah, growing up as a little kid, this is what I dreamed of, being in a big league rotation and being able to go out and contribute to the team's success. And this is what I worked all offseason for. So to see some of that fruit come to fruition now is definitely rewarding, but, it's still very early in the season and, just trying to keep my head underwater and work as hard as I can in between every start.
And you've been far from the only guy in the rotation to be getting deep into games this year. How much do you guys push each other in a rotation that's rolling the way you guys have been recently?
Yeah, I think we got a really good group right now. We got a lot of really bright minds and guys that really care about their craft and, talking to Sonny, Miles, Fetty, Andre in between starts, we don't just sit on the bench and joke around. We pay attention to the game. We watch pitches. We're trying to guess along with our pitcher and their pitcher. And you end up picking up on a lot of things that you might not have if you're just, sitting there joking around the whole time. So we got a really good group.
In my article for Sports Hub STL, I referred to Liberatore as the pitching version of a boomerang. The way the Cardinals have sort of had him go back and forth between roles in past seasons. And we have seen glimpses of dominance from him. But like when you're hearkening back to multiple seasons ago, like remember that Tampa start? Wow. At a certain point, you're like, all right, new data points. Let's get something more recent that you can be fired up about. That's what he's given you, though. He's just been rock solid, consistent, and I don't care what label you want to put on it, what number in the rotation. You would say, oh, Matthew Liberatore's he's better than a number 5 starter. He's a number 4. He's a number 3. He's a 2. He's a frontline, whatever you want to call it. He's going out there and he's posting. That's the way I framed it in the question because that's what he's doing. Every fifth day, he posts 6 innings every single time for 5 starts through the first month of the season. That's all you can ask for. Are there going to be some bumps in the road? Of course. Because he's not, look, if he finishes the season 30 starts with 180 innings, which I just don't think they'll let him go from 86 innings to 180. You might be looking at 125, 140, 150 like that. Could be a conversation down the road. But just kind of extrapolating out the numbers, if he does that and has a 3.19 ERA, like that's an all-star. That's a guy that gets maybe not Cy Young votes without a bunch of gaudy strikeouts to go with it, but that's a top 50, top 60 starter in MLB if he performs that way. So that's how the dude sees himself, and we're starting to get to see it from him. And you know what? When hard work meets opportunity, that's what they say. Luck is considered. I'm seeing hard work and I'm seeing opportunity. The Cardinals bestowed it upon him. We credited the team when they came out of spring training and said it's the right call. This guy could be in your rotation in 2026. Steven Matz, as much as I think he has been an unsung hero of this Cardinals team early in the season, he's not going to be in the rotation next year unless something crazy. They could sign him back, but the way you expect it to go is that you're kind of plotting out some of these future spots, earmarking them for 2026, and you go, Liberatore's a guy, that's what we traded him to be, right? Or traded for him to be when we gave up Randy Arozarena. Like, that's how the Cardinals have to be thinking about this, and maybe not still in the context of Arozarena because that's a little bit tired, but you know what I'm talking about. This guy's got the potential, and why not in a year like 2025 where you're not using every last bit of payroll and financial resources to stretch the dollar and go, hey, we're gonna buy this veteran starter. We're gonna buy this stopgap. We're gonna buy this reliever. They had a Maton, and they they did nothing else. But you're seeing the benefit of that for a guy like Liberatore, who would not have had the opportunity if the thought process going into the winter was gotta sign 2 starters because we're not sure, whatever. Like, that's what the way they have thought about these things in the past. And this year it was, let's just see what we got. Obviously you had Steven Matz coming back off of a largely injured season. And so you lump Liberatore in with the rest of the group. Liberatore wins a job, and now he's, going out there and really helping this Cardinals team so far this season. So he was great tonight. He also spoke about Kyle Lehey. I was there for Kyle Leahy's little interview as well. We can see if there's any sound there we're sharing. Very humble kid, very kind of quiet kid, but I thought Liberatore, kind of lit up when he was asked about Kyle Lehey in this next question. So I thought that was worth playing here. So we're just kind of ping-ponging back and forth. Not the most structured episode of the pod that you'll have ever heard, but that's what you get at 1 a.m. Here's Libby asked about Kyle Lehey.
As somebody else who likes to throw a whole lot, what do you kind of make of what Kyle's been able to do here in the first month?
He's been awesome. Watching him do that and be able to fill those roles and not just be able to be available, but come in and be extremely effective and, have multiple offerings. I think he's throwing, 5 or 6 pitches out of the pen right now. And at the drop of a hat, he can come in and have feel for all of that stuff. I really can't say enough good things about what he's doing for us right now.
I cannot stand the music in the clubhouse for the purposes of on the air. The TV folks have to just hate it too. But sometimes you can kind of hear it in the background. Anyway, Matthew Liberatore, yeah, he did. He kind of lit up when I was asked about Lehey. And Lehey's just very likable. I don't know. I mean, obviously the work that he's doing on the mound has been big time for the Cardinals. It's not hard to gather, though, how he has risen into the circle of trust for Oliver Marmol. First of all, he just goes out there and kind of like we're talking about when it comes to Libby from a rotation standpoint, Kyle Lehey just goes out there and posts. He just goes and does it. And tonight, gave up a hit, gave up a walk, and it was like, uh-oh, now what do you do? Well, you just get the next 3 outs. Done. He doesn't make more of it than what it is. He really does seem, and it is very cliche, but he really does seem like the kind of guy that it doesn't impact him what the situation is. He could be a future closer because of, it's not like he's got upper 90s, 100-mile-per-hour stuff, but he does have a variety in the repertoire. But just that notion of slow heartbeat, right? It just doesn't faze him, whatever the situation might be. He, I think, really is that guy, as much as it sounds like kind of a cliche thing. That's just the way he goes out there and does his job. And you can kind of hear it come out in his interviews as well. We'll play this question about being used in leverage and, what he makes of that after, being somebody that 2 years ago he was just mop-up duty, whatever role he could get. And now you're seeing him in some pretty big spots this year, literally every day. Kyle EveryDeahy.
When they're using you in leverage situations quite often, what does that do for your confidence? Obviously you were really good last year, but it's a different level this year.
I just want to help the team win. So it's nice we came out on top today, but it doesn't matter what inning I come in, the goal is the same. We'll put up a 0. That's what the goal was every time I pitched last year, so it doesn't change with the situations I'm in this year.
You were out of the game by the 8th inning, but when you saw that Arenado play, what was your reaction?
I mean, it's a Hall of Fame play. That's a smart play. You got a fast runner. He had 2. Most people probably try to go 2, but he makes a play at home on a throw that I don't know how your arm bends that way. So it was incredible.
Kyle, when you just look at your growth at this level, and especially in spots like those that you find yourself in, I mean, where do you kind of feel like you make strides in, just in terms of kind of slow heartbeat, slowing the game down for those moments?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, is having a slow heartbeat, and like I said earlier, all you can do is make the next pitch and do your best to execute a good quality pitch and live with what happens after that.
Kyle, how much pride do you take in that availability to just be available as often and frequently as you've been?
Yeah, that's valuable to the team, so I try to be available as much as I can. So
now, I did stop short of asking him there what he thinks of Kyle EveryDeahy as a nickname, if he's on board with it or not. I didn't want to go there, but I really do think it's fitting, and it's, again, said as a compliment, because that availability, he said, it's valuable to the team, so it's what I want to do. Very simple approach. That's kind of the approach that I think can benefit you as a relief pitcher, especially as a leverage reliever. Maybe as a starter down the line, though, too, right? It would definitely be under a different scope, but the conversation about he's got 5-6 different pitches that he's throwing in these one-inning bursts, and so guys don't necessarily have the ability to game plan for it. Like, that's what makes good starters, though. That's why we've continued to hear that sort of conversation lurking in the background of, well, maybe Kyle Leahy's a future starter for the Cardinals. Right now, you wouldn't dream of doing it because you literally couldn't be getting through the season without him in your bullpen. But, like, next year, yeah, I think he should show up to spring ready to compete for a spot. If Michaelis goes free agency, Matz goes free agency, Eric Fetty goes free agency or is traded, if the Cardinals fall out of it, I think that. So you're talking about 3 of those spots. Sonny's 1 year further along. He made a point that he wanted to be here in St. Louis this year. But again, if this is a team that's not going anywhere, could he re-engage those kind of thoughts about willingness to, move on if it's best for him, best for the Cardinals, works out for all parties? He's got that no trade, so it'd be kind of like Arenado this past time around. You could see some significant turnover in the rotation between now and next year, is what I'm saying. Like, you think about Palante, Liberatore, that's kind of it, right? That I think it's just be guaranteed from like a contract perspective to still be around. Sonny has the no trade, but he didn't want to. I'm not 100% sure like what that's going to look like if the Cardinals lose 90 games this year, in terms of what he wants out of this whole thing. Because after year 1, he made a point at winter warm-up. I remember him kind of talking through it and saying, I didn't want to just kind of not get a chance to see through those relationships. And you're the new guy 1 year, and to be going into a second year with your bearings already with the St. Louis Cardinals gives you that opportunity to kind of build relationships with his teammates. Like, that was a big part of it for Sonny Gray. Obviously, the family, you don't want to, you just had to, adjust to that change. And you don't necessarily just want to turn around and change the circumstances again just to be changing them. All of those things that he felt. And so my point is, like, it's up in the air. It's not really a current topic of conversation, but you could see how if the Cardinals do end up not having the season that they hope to have, that could be a spot. So, yeah, Kyle Leahy, come on down, 2026 spring training. Hopefully Liberatore, maintains what he's been doing. I think Palante has, he's had a couple of rougher outings lately, but still has done enough, in my opinion, for now where I'm not looking at him as somebody you're trying to kick out off the curb or something like that. And then you're talking about pitching prospects. McGreevy, obviously, is somebody that I think you can go ahead and pencil into the 26 rotation. And then you're looking at the other guys that are all injured right now. Quinn Matthews, Cooper Chirpy is a little ways away with the Tommy John. Tink Hence is out for a while. So, there's some uncertainty there to where, yeah, Kyle Leahy could certainly, it wouldn't be difficult to see whether the Cardinals decide to spend some money in free agency next offseason or not. I think I would be almost surprised at this point if Leahy doesn't get a long look in that capacity next year. But for now, the role he's in suits him well. And he's doing a great job. Phil Maton came in to pitch the 8th inning after Leahy, and he also got into a spot of danger. That was where Arenado made the unbelievable play that he made. And like I said, it had to happen. They had to have it, or the game's tied, and who knows where it goes from there. Across his body, it was a chopper by Jackson Chourio, really hit toward Mason Wynn at short. But Arenado, it was hit slowly, choppy. He goes and cuts it off. Depth-wise, he's not like super close to home plate, because if it was hit toward the shortstop, it's a little bit more in the hole of the infield. So he's back really behind. His momentum takes him behind the pitcher's mound. I'm sure you guys have all seen the play right now. I don't have to overly describe it, but just to think about the momentum and the way his body has to contort. And Ollie Marmol mentioned it, like all the things that have to kind of compute in your brain in that split second. Starting with like, okay, either it's a double play, if that's an option, or this run scoring if I don't throw home. Right? Like it's as simple as that. But with where his momentum was taking him, just to be able to kind of pivot midair almost and on the fly, maintain, you're not going to be able to stop. Like if he stops on a dime and tries to actually like stick his cleat in the dirt and pivot to throw home, you're not going to be in time. He has to do it on the run as he's going the wrong direction. Once it is clear in his mind that a double play wasn't an option, which it sounded like him talking about it post-game, it was just not, he knew he couldn't get the double play because of where he was, and Churio running is a fast runner, so it just wasn't going to happen. So at that point, he just, with his body going in the wrong direction, it's like a Mahomes play. It's a very kind of NFL quarterback off-schedule throw, and throws a strike to Pages, who makes a tag at home. That's more impressive to me than any catch he could make almost, right? For all the great plays he's made, a lot of them are just, the reactionary diving stops and catches and crazy stuff like that. And then a lot of times it's to get up and make the throw to first, too, and it's a strong throw, which is a big part of what makes him a Gold Glover. But the accuracy of this throw, again, it was behind the pitcher's mound. He didn't cross the mound. He was well behind it. And threw a strike to Pages, and he put the tag down. And Arenado, it's kind of a blurry image of it from what was on the broadcast that I showed for the thumbnail. But he was pumped, man. He was like veins popping out, excited about that play. It was worth that reaction. Unbelievable play. Like I said, I've seen a bunch of really good defensive plays covering the Cardinals for my 10th season now, I think. Geely Cly, I'm old. Okay. But this is right up there with the best of them. Just an insane play. Matthew Liberatore was talking about, it was asked, what he saw there. And he said basically, like, I had to do a double take to believe that he did it, to believe that he actually went home with that and did that. I'll find it. Here's the question and answer from Libby about the Arenado play.
Libby, where were you when Nolan made that play? And what was your reaction when you saw it? Were you in here doing
Arenado?
arm care?
Yeah, I was in here doing arm care, and I was pretty fired up. I thought for sure that ball was going to first base, and I almost had to do a double take because that was such an incredible throw, and I let him know about it once he came in after, too.
Think about all the things he has to compute there, like going against his body. Do a turn two, do a go home.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the physical things, the ability to have that kind of internal clock and know that you have enough time and the ability to put enough on that throw to still beat that guy, that's no slouch running down the line there. So, yeah, I mean, he does things every night that you've never seen before, and he just continues to amaze us with his defense.
How about Matthew Liberatore, quote of the night? Like, every topic that we wanted to talk about, he had something to say about it. Pretty good. But, yeah, can't say enough about that Arenado play. It was nuts. Let's talk a little bit about the Cardinals offense before we go down on the farm and get out of here for tonight's episode. Fourth inning, Brendan Donovan scores the first run of this game after an interesting trip around the bases. So he goes first to third on kind of a bloop served up base hit to left center-ish by Arenado. Just took a pitch and just kind of stuck the bat out and blooped a soft liner. Goes first to third. He was off running with the pitch, which is how he was able to get to third. But he thought this play was not going to be as close as it was because he didn't slide. And then it was like his momentum almost kind of took him past the bag as he realized he had to not just kind of saunter into third. He had to keep running to the end, but wasn't prepared to slide. It was very strange. Always slide. This is my 2 cents. But then shades of, hey, are you going to try to test the arm of Mike Trout, which, did not do in the opening homestand. I still maintain that I'm not sure he would have been safe if he had gone, even though the throw was terrible. But anyway, in this spot, Nolan Gorman hits one to Churio, who's got a pretty good arm, shallow right field, and Donovan does go this time. Nobody out in the fourth inning, first and third. So risky click. I mean, that's borderline reckless, and it didn't seem like as it was happening, you're thinking, oh boy, this is, I don't know about this. Like you watch enough of these from the press box, and there are some where you go, oh, this is going to be interesting. It's the right send, but it's going to be interesting. But he goes, and I was thinking, oh no, like this could be rough. As it played out, we learned it would have taken a perfect throw to get him. And maybe those are the times when the Cardinals should be pushing the envelope. When it's like, yep, takes a perfect throw to get him. Well, didn't make a perfect throw, made a good throw, But it did, if you watch a replay, it took William Contreras a little bit up the first base line. And in so doing, he had to just take that extra split second to grab for it and come back with the tag, and that was that. Was not able to get him in time as a result. So I guess you could say it was the right move. Go aggressive. Just, man, with nobody out, now there's one out. But then if the next guy grounds into a double play, you're thinking, oh boy, you left it out there. And so those are the slim margins that we talk about. And Donovan ends up coming up with and it was a great slide too to get in. Just had the oven mitt on the left hand and stuck it, slid it across the plate, just barely beat the tag. So well done there by Brendan Donovan, who was 2 for 3 on the night. Lars Nootbaar 2 for 3. By the way, Lars Nootbaar set a record. He had been tied for the MLB record and now broke that record. Leadoff walks. So walks to lead off a game for a team. Has done it 9 times in the month of April, which has apparently never been done. So there you go. He was 2 for 3, though. Reached base 3 times because of that walk and scored a run, drove in a run. Donovan, same exact stat line. 2 for 3, run scored, RBI, also reached via walk. 944 OPS. Lars has his back above 800 at 804. But offensively, there's just not a lot going on for the Cardinals. 2 for 8 with RISP. They scored 2 runs in the 5th inning, which was, again, just a little bit of base running action to get things going in that frame. Mason Wynn with a base hit. Stole second. Throw sails into center field. I think they gave the error to the shortstop instead of the throw for whatever reason. But Wynn ends up at third base on that. Nootbaar drives him in on a hit. Wilson Contreras with a double. Couldn't score Lars from first, but sets up a good spot. And then Donovan's base hit. Drives in Nootbaar from third. Contreras then trucking around third base. That was probably a little bit overly aggressive. But if you're on second, a base hit to the outfield, you expect to score. It was just a very weird way that it went down, though, at home plate, because he also did not slide. But it was, I think, because normally you expect to maybe look to slide to the outside. The base hit was to left field and just didn't end up that Wilson Contreras expected what happened. I don't really know. It was kind of strange. The ball went toward the third base side for William Contreras. So brother on brother. There's no collision to speak of. But basically the throw took William Contreras to the outside lane, kind of on the third base side, to where you couldn't slide there. So you needed to slide to the inside, probably head first dive, kind of like Donovan's, but then stick the right hand in instead of left hand. But it's like he wasn't in a spot where he could make that adjustment with where the throw ended up. And so he tried to, I think, tiptoe it and tag the plate as he was going by. Umpire ruled that William tagged him, and so that Wilson was out. But then he, and the umpire called it right away. But I don't know if either of them knew what happened, because I think Wilson might have missed the plate, and so it didn't matter anyway, which is why he went back to try to tag it again. William tagged him again, because I don't know if William actually got him the first time, but the umpire thought he did. So at any rate, there was 5 different ways that Contreras was out, and that Contreras had made the tag on Contreras. So there wasn't – Cardinals weren't getting a run out of this, but it was one of those where you're like, oh, man, might have left a little bit of meat on the bone there, especially in the way that the game ended up, with the 7th and 8th innings being very much – I call it ride the rail. Just here we go. Hold on tight and hope it works out. Ryan Helsley, we did get a little Hells Bells action at Busch. Crowd was light. We know the drill at this point. We're going to be looking forward to Sunday to see if what the crowd looks like compared to the Blues game. And I'll actually be at the Blues game Sunday. So as far as what that night's B-Schaeff Daily will be, I did a B-Schaeff Daily earlier today about the Blues game. Nobody really listened to it, which is fine. So I maybe won't do that again the next time unless it's really exciting. Or maybe it's the fact that I didn't get it done right after the game. I waited till the next afternoon. Anyway, that's just programming notes that I make for myself. For okay, people, are fired up about the Blues, but if you wait 12 hours or 16 hours, maybe not as much, no problem. I'll still try to do a podcast about the Cardinals that day, even if I will be at the Blues game, covering the Blues game. I can dual screen it. I can do the real life screen in front of me and then the actual, laptop screen can be on the game, the baseball game. That's fine. Anyway, lost my train of thought. Oh, hell's bells. Yeah, so he got the double play, 6-4-3. Wilson Contreras is always like diving around, belly flopping to secure it. But I'll be darned if he doesn't continue to get the job done at first base defensively. It doesn't maybe always look super pretty, but as a guy who, when I used to play sports, I would always be on the ground falling and doing it in a way where I wouldn't get hurt, but it kind of probably looked to other people like I was having issues. I understand. So I'm pro Wilson being able to kind of have a little fun and sprawl around over there. Just don't get hurt, because they moved him to first base so that he wouldn't get hurt. Right? That was the whole point. Stay out there. Don't be on the injured list. Do a bunch of hitting. Be great, etc. And by the way, speaking of being great, he had a double, 1 for 4, average up to 202, OPS up to 582. He's going to need a couple of homers next week before May begins if my prediction that he'll get to the 700 OPS is going to come true, but he's still got a little bit of time. He's on a 7-game hitting streak, though, so you appreciate that. Helsley did get the save, his 4th of the season. The Cardinals win it 3-2. Pretty compelling game, be honest with you, and all done in 2 hours and 29 minutes. So can't complain too much about that. But that'll do it for the conversation about the game itself. Let's talk about some of the games that happened throughout the rest of the Cardinals system as we go down on the farm.
It's time to go down on the farm. Brought to you by Hastings Layers Premium Eggs.
You'll be happier than a jackass eating thistle.
Huh?
The Memphis Redbirds absolutely rocked the Norfolk Tides on Friday night. 10-1. Memphis improves to 13-9. Norfolk drops to 8-15. 10-1 winners in 7 innings, it looks like. They didn't bother to finish the game? Oh, you know what it was? I think it was a doubleheader, actually. So let me back up. Yeah, they did. They played 2 games, and they had a lot of rain, so they made it up. And that's why. Okay, well, I don't know which of these games came first because I was doing all kinds of other stuff today. But we're going to look at the box score and go down on the farm. Sound good? Good. Michael Ciani, who is now down with AAA, in one of the games, went 0 for 4, but scored a run, had an RBI. Jimmy Crooks, couple of hits. Kaperniak, couple of hits. His numbers, man. Kaperniak is still only hitting 195, though. It's kind of crazy. Gordon Graceffo, you like to see that. 6 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 1 walk, only 1 strikeout. But there's another guy when we're talking about next year's rotation that, hopefully ends up being part of that conversation. And look, it could be a different looking Cardinals team if they're never spending money and they're just going to go internal with all these guys. But I don't think that's the end of the world for a year or two. And look, if it happens in the middle of this summer or they trade Fetty, and by then you might say, Michaelis, just go hang out on your boat in Jupiter for August, September, unless Michaelis is pitching well, and they could trade him too. And they could trade Steven Matz. Like, Michaelis, you want to go pitch in the playoffs last year of your contract? Okay. Maybe somebody wants him because he's been good in 4 of his 5 starts. Like, all these things are possibilities. And again, this is only if the Cardinals are out of the race. I'm still thinking there's Cardinals fans out there who would like to think they find their way into it. And I do think there's talent on the team, so I'm not going to rule it out just yet. But if that happens, you could see an August-September rotation that's like Liberatore, Graceffo, Palante, obviously, still. Sonny probably doesn't get traded mid-year, but you never know. But then it's McGreevy. Gosh, I keep doing that. McGreevy is obviously coming. I mean, maybe, and my guy Ian Bedell has struggled. He pitched in the other game for Memphis today, 7.5 ERA, 4 innings, 4 runs. So, maybe he's not somebody the Cardinals are itching to give a look to. Roycroft, by the way, had a save in one of those games for Memphis, scoreless inning. But I think, Graceffo is somebody that certainly, if the Cardinals do fade out and they trade some starters at the deadline, Graceffo, McGreevy, those guys are in the rotation the rest of the season. And then you get to find out what that looks like August, September, which can inform decisions for next year and beyond. So all part of that transition, and that could be a mid-year transition depending on how things go. Offensively, again, there's just not a lot of guys at Memphis right now to really spend a lot of time highlighting. But Jose Barrero had a 1 for 3 with maybe it was a grand slam. Had 4 RBIs. Must have been. And a walk in that second game. Memphis won that one 14. No, that's not what I meant to say. Memphis won that one 7-5. They are 14-9. So they swept the doubleheader today. Good for them. Springfield Cardinals lost to the good old Wichita Wind Surge 2-1. Still no J.J. Weatherholt in the lineup for Springfield. I think that is the flu, is what they've said. Flu-like symptoms. Hopefully he gets well soon. Be nice to see him in the box score anyway. All right, that's Down on the Farm. That's the podcast. It's sleepy time. Appreciate you guys so much for listening, for sticking with me, for sticking with the Cardinals. Your interest level in the Cardinals definitely helps your willingness to listen to the podcast. So appreciate you guys for seeing what this season's about, because I do think there's more that we're going to learn, and it is interesting enough. So check it out. Make sure to subscribe if you have not done so yet to B-Schaeff Daily on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or right here on YouTube as well with the subscription to the channel. Brenden Schaeffer, St. Louis Cardinals writer. Okay, that's all for me. We'll talk to you next time on B-Schaeff Daily. Peace.